Welcome to In My Bag with Backpack Jeff, where we connect with ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I got a very special guest here with me, Miss Shekira Ramdas. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank
You doing
you.
good?
I'm doing
Happy
really
New Year
good.
to you.
Happy New Year. Happy 2021.
Absolutely. What have you done this year so far that you are proud of so far? And I know it's early
It's
early February.
early, but it's a good question because for me, I think so. I told you I bought a new house,
Okay.
and so this year I've been spending a lot of time really like focusing on certain levels of my house that I did not get a chance to do last year when I purchased my home.
Okay.
So in terms of this year alone, I managed to like furnish the whole top of my house.
Wow.
So that to me is an accomplishment for me to be able to do that within like what a month and a month and a week, really, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to do that has been like great.
You know what?
But
That is a heck of an accomplishment, and I'm looking forward to getting to the process where I buy my house eventually. So I know the self gratification that you feel, in doing something like that. Even with the
yeah,
space that we're in right now, I just feel such pride in what I was able, like the atmosphere that I was able to create in here.
yep.
So I definitely
Yeah, it's nice
understand
and
that.
cozy. Your candles going.
Look, gotta have
Love
the Bath
it.
and Body Works
I love
going.
it.
I spent a lot of money over Christmas on Bath and Body
You know,
Works
you ain't the
candles.
only one.
I was you one of the people that was in the line?
Lines and online.
Oh, see, I
I
did
did
mine
both.
online at 6 in the morning, and then they sent me a message talking about like 7 of my candles not going to go, and I'm like, what? I'm like, come on, Bath and Body Works, y'all got to do me better than that. Not
Well,
that many people in the world was up at 6 in the morning ordering these candles. I bet you I was one of the first people.
look, that's dedication right there.
That's definitely
I
dedication.
appreciate that. I respect it. I respect
Absolutely,
it.
and I'm running out too because I burned them so much. So you said you brought it. You said you brought a house what last year?
You know, it's so I should just tell you the story because when I
Okay.
bought the house, it was right before COVID. I
Wow.
legit bought the house in March, right when there was like rumors of this
Of this,
virus
yeah, this
coming to
deadly
the
disease.
United States, right? Little did we know that it was going to turn into this craziness.
Right.
So I bought the house in March. As soon as I got my keys, that's when the lockdown started. So I
Wow.
was in a time frame where I had my home, but I wasn't able to move in because everything was shut down. The
Yeah.
moving trucks, no one was able to come into my home, nor did I want anyone in my house, of course, right?
Right.
So I was with my mom for a couple of months, I'm sorry. Bought the house in March. I didn't move in until closer to June into my
Wow.
home. And then when I moved in at that time frame, all I had was like my bed and a couple of items, and that was it.
COVID definitely did a number on a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
someone who who recently
Yeah.
moved into their own house and bought their own home. But COVID definitely did a number on all of us.
Hmm.
How have you transitioned work life, social life and stuff like that? How have you transitioned? Has there been a transition
You
for
know what,
you?
Jeff? I'm actually proud to say that I've been spending a lot outside of course, my responsibilities. I've been doing a lot of like self reflection, a lot of me time, a
Okay.
lot of like Shakira time,
Uh huh.
primarily in my home. And what I mean by that is I've been doing a lot of yoga, meditation, journaling, adult coloring, like things to just kind of like rejuvenate myself
Mm-hmm.
spiritually and emotionally. So that's really where I spend. Like of course, I communicate with my friends and family members
Yeah.
through FaceTime, and occasionally like we'll get together at some point.
Right.
But not as much as I did prior to COVID, of course. So like I spent a lot. I got a lot of time on my weekends, like after shoots and stuff, really just by myself.
Yeah, and you know what? That time is really important, and I think COVID kind of forced us to stay still and actually
Yep.
indulge in self care, self improvement, self love.
Yep.
Really figure out who we are. Journaling. Get yourself a win journal. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that COVID definitely did do that, and for me, there's a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish that I had to put on the shelf, but there's a lot of things that I didn't know that I wanted to accomplish that I had to take off the shelf, and I was actually able to accomplish those
Look
things.
at you.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Kudos to Jeff.
I appreciate that. We give you your kudos today, though. Today is all
Appreciate it.
about you.
I
So,
appreciate it.
we met a couple of years ago, and
Okay.
you were, well in your career. I don't know if you can talk about what you do, because it's so secret.
I can say some stuff.
You
I
can
don't
say
mind.
some stuff. Okay, so tell us what it is that you do a
Okay.
little bit.
Of course. So I work for the State Department,
Uh huh.
and I'm a civil service officer.
Okay.
So a lot of the work that I do at state works a lot with, well, primarily foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
So writing, we call them memos, which are really like papers for our leadership on issues that we specialize in. So the issues that I specialize in are primarily international business, commerce, trade, sanctions, international investments. We call it I'm in the Bureau of Economic and Business Affairs.
Okay.
So anything related to that topic as it pertains to foreign policy is what I focus on as an officer at the State Department.
And how did you get interested in something like this?
So my experience at school, like in traveling as well, and of course I speak a couple of languages. So me being able to to focus on a lot of these like topics in school, and then to be able to travel and to learn a lot more about these topics. My internships that kind of indulged me into this type of this career itself, like is really what like drove my passion. And then I went to all women's college, and I went overseas studying also at an all women's college in India. So that's what really drove my interest in like women's empowerment, but also like that economics and business focus, because I realized that's really the platforms that has allowed women to really advance, at least independently, internationally.
Yeah, and you know what, I think over the years that I've known you, you know what I mean, I think you traveled, you definitely travel frequently, but do I remember you did a business trip from the time that we've known each other and stuff like that?
I've done a couple. So
talk about that a little bit.
My most recent trip before COVID was we do what professionally they're called temporary duty assignments, or TDYs.
Okay.
With the Department of State, and we have an opportunity as civil service officers to work at embassies for a temporary period of time to fill in certain gaps as officers. In this case, foreign service officers, because we're overseas. So I was in Baku, Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a country in the Caspian region, which is part of the former Soviet Union. So not too far from Russia, not too far from Iran, actually. So it was kind of like it was considered, well, the State Department listed as a high threat country simply because of its location to certain terrorist organizations. But it was a safe mission that we did, my safe assignment. But that experience was like I was there for 2.5 months. And then before that, I was in Colombia. I did, of course, it was more of like, it was like personal versus business too, because I did a combination of both, personal and business travel there at the embassy in Colombia.
Okay, so you said personal travel.
Yes.
So I know your heritage.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about your heritage, because I know you are you're a lot in love with your heritage, and I think you really embrace who you are. And I love that about you. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, and if that had any impact on you wanting to do what you do currently as well.
Okay, that's a good question, because it is. It has a lot to do with who I am, what I'm doing, and where I plan on going.
Okay.
So I am mixed. My father is mixed. He was born in Guyana, which is in South America, but he's mixed Guyanese and Portuguese. My grandmother's Portuguese. My mother, she's black and white as well. So Guyanese, Portuguese, and African American is pretty much what I associate myself with ethnically. My father and my mother both, because they come from two different traditions and cultures, really wanted me and my sister both growing up to be exposed to both cultures. So being able to understand the different religions that were associated with my father's side of the family, because they do practice Hindu. I'm not, of course, Hindu. I'm a Christian, but there were some cultural adjustments that my parents wanted me to be exposed to.
Sure.
But also the food, the clothing, the forms of greeting, respect, all of that were things that were kind of ingrained to me and my sister growing up on both sides of both my mom and my dad's family. And growing up, my dad and my mom were encouraging my sister and I to do like these trips with our school, right? So, and the reason why we did these trips with our school was because even though growing up for me, and of course it's much different now because I think diversity is all, it's becoming more inclusive and more respected and acknowledged, more so than it was for me and my sister, even for you, I'm sure, growing up. So like for me, I went to a predominantly like all white school.
Same. But
I studied French. I went to school studying languages because I was from a rich culture. My dad wanted us to be able to kind of know where we came from, but to also understand the importance of respecting different cultures. So from a very young age, getting this type of experiences, the traveling, the languages, the schooling, the different traditional practices, kind of exposed me to like, this international world, this international experience is interesting.
And not just from a travel standpoint, but from a learning standpoint.
Exactly.
Like I think like that's one of the things that I like to do. Like when I travel, I like to learn. Like I'm the type of person who likes to hear stories. You know what I mean? Like I want to go to an elder and I want you to tell me, like tell me this story about, something profound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I love stories and I love to see how things work, how the world works. Like I love going into museums and kind of, and just practicing on reflection of what this looked like. You know what I mean? Like when you go to a museum and you see like some of the outfits that the people in the army and the military would wear. I like it. Like, somebody actually wore that. You know what I mean? So I think that's super important, and I love how you incorporate your personal interests with what you do professionally, and I think I imagine you get a lot of fulfillment from that.
I do.
That's
Most
good.
Definitely.
That's good. So since I've known you as well, you've also had an opportunity to actually go into some schools and speak. And I know that this was something that you didn't even like plan on doing, but like you would text me and be like, "Hey, guess what? I'm going into a school and speak." And I'm like, "Yo, that's crazy." Tell me, like, were you surprised when they reached out to you? And then tell me what that experience was like.
So I was pleasantly surprised. So yes, I was surprised. Of course, it was an ecstatic experience for me. Like being able to, like, someone to recognize or have an interest in having me. I'm like, really? Me, Shekira, to come to your school and speak to the students?
Right.
It really, at that moment, made me realize that, wow, I'm actually, like, doing some good stuff for you to be recognized, to be able to come and inspire students.
Yeah.
So, of course, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, right? Because you never want to mess up on an opportunity as big as this, especially when you're speaking not just to a small group of students, but in some aspects, crowds of students, auditorium filled of students, right? So, when the first time I was called to speak. The topic was primarily talking about your experiences growing up, right? Your international experiences studying abroad, for example, and then like learning different languages. Because again, like I said, I went to a French school growing up. So sharing my story, which again can be inspiring, but also talking about how this kind of connects to what I do now with my job, working at the State Department.
Okay.
And talking about how me working at the State Department is something that what are some of the goals that I have in mind moving forward as an officer. So for me, I really felt very fulfilled because I realized at least on my first time speaking, so many of the students approached me after I spoke just wanting to meet me to be like a mentor to them. I mean, I think they were in the phases where they were writing like their senior thesis or like their senior papers before graduation, and they wanted me to read it. They wanted to share and bounce off ideas simply because the interests that I had or currently have aligned with the interests of what their papers are on, and simply because they want to be doing the same things that I'm doing. And what really inspired me too was the fact that there were so many women, or in this case I call them women, right, or young ladies who had no idea what type of opportunities they could have working at the State Department, especially women of color. So being able to go to these schools and be the face, in the sense of the State Department, a face that you typically don't see when you think of the State Department, right?
At all, yeah.
At all, right? Not to mention just being a woman of color, but a woman of a different origin, speaking different languages, different cultures, different experiences. It's unheard of at the State Department. So for me to be able to share my story with these ladies and for them to feel inspired and be like, wow, I think I can do this. Yeah. That's all I needed to know for me to want to be able to, continue on.
Yeah, and you know what? That's such a beautiful story, because it just makes you want to pursue it even more. And like you said, you were just walking in your gift and in your purpose, and all of a sudden here come other opportunities that you probably didn't even think about. Yeah. It's not like you went into this saying, I also want to go into schools and speak and be the face of this. Right. Yeah.
No way. In fact, I had no idea I was even capable of public speaking, to be honest with you. I didn't think I would even be able to bring it out.
How did you do? Were you able to bring it out?
Of course I was nervous, but it was just, I guess once you start talking and you realize that your audience is actually honing in,
Right.
I was like, oh, I can do this. Let me continue because they're listening.
Yeah.
And you can tell based on like how big their eyes are getting or how much they're leaning towards the side of the seats. It's like, wow, this is really interesting. And once I capture their attention, it's like, you know, Shekira, you can do this. And that really was my motivation to keep going.
And it kind of puts you at like a place of peace, and it kind of calms you a little bit. Like that's why, like, even before I ever get on stage, like I always go through my little opening or my little rant just to kind of ease myself, because I'm always nervous, because especially if it's a crowd that I've never performed in front of before. So yeah, no, I definitely understand that. So what are some of the stories that you shared with the young students that inspire them? You know, like some challenges that you may have had growing up, or some stories that you know could share that you told or said, you know, when you were speaking.
So, believe it or not, growing up, I was an extremely shy, isolated child. And it was so bad that my father actually, I'm so, you know, I guess now I think about it, I just laugh, but it's just, wow. I mean, my dad was like concerned simply because I wasn't confident enough in myself to be vocal about how I felt. And growing up, I was bullied because, again, I went to a predominantly white school and there weren't people like me.
Right.
So I felt a little discriminated. I felt like I wasn't always treated fairly, at least when it came to the students. And so that affected me emotionally when it came to me growing up and becoming mature. But for some reason, I don't know, you know, it just clicked in the sense when I went to high school. I just started to develop this level of confidence in myself that really allowed me to just blossom in the sense of me wanting to kind of seek out leadership opportunities, internship opportunities, traveling opportunities to be able to just make friends in general, right? Yeah. So it's the little things like that was my struggle that I noticed that a lot of students are also struggling with themselves. And when they can see that someone who had those setbacks, in a sense, able to kind of overcome them and to seek success, that was all being able to see that there's someone just like them.
That was the confirmation that they needed. Like, you know, pulling from your story gives them hope and gives them belief in their story. And that's exactly what I like that's exactly what this whole podcast is about, is you know, allowing other people to see people that they can, because like with other podcasts, you know, they get famous people and stuff like that on there. And so you see these famous people all the time, but you'll never be able to touch these famous people. Chances are you won't ever be able to touch them. You won't ever be in a room with them and have conversations. But there are people like yourself who are doing amazing things who are able, we can touch you. You know what I mean? Like somebody can get in contact with you. Like we don't have to call an agent or, you know what I mean? Something like that. You know what I mean? We can actually have an actual conversation with you. And I think that's so important when it comes to, you know, younger people and them just being able to see. And then especially you, because at the time when you were going to speak at the schools, you were 26 years old?
I was young.
Yeah.
Actually younger than that. I was like 25, maybe 24. And yeah, I was young.
So, and it's such a beautiful thing. And it's the fact that, hey, look, you don't have to get in your 30s and 40s and then think that your life is going to be good. Your life can actually be good in your 20s if you do the things that you're supposed to do and the things that are necessary in order for you to have success.
That's right.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful thing. I love your story. I love that. So, when another thing that one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to talk to you was because you've had a recent surge in your life over like the past like 2 years. And I remember I remember you called me and you sent me like the first picture. You was like, I don't know if I like these. I don't know if I like these ones. I don't know what you think. I'm like, girl, you better do that thing. You America's Next Top Model, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God.
She's worked with Tyra Banks, multiple. No, let me stop.
No. Shout out to Tyra. You know.
Shout out to Tyra. Absolutely. You know, if you want to work with her, here she is. Reach out to me. I'll be her. I'm her publicist.
There you go.
And then I'll put you in contact with her.
There you
go. But so talk to us and tell us about this journey as a model and how this kind of started.
Yes. So, you know what's funny? This idea of modeling was something that I thought of or thought would be cool, but never, of course, explored when I was like in middle school.
Uh-huh.
And it was during a time where, again, I was very, very shy, very to myself, very reserved. But I always saw these models, was like, oh, they're so beautiful. This is so cool. This will be fun to do. But I never really thought I could do it, right? But as I got older, you know, my main focus was education, my degrees, accomplishing things that had to do with academics. Once I achieved that, it was almost as if it was something that was already planned,
Right.
but without me having to pursue it proactively. And I say that because it was just one moment. I think it was one evening. I was out with my girlfriends. We were just having a girls' night, of course. And it was a photographer who was in the club that I was in. I was at the sign. It wasn't really a club. It was like a lounge, I guess. The Sign of the Whales. So in D.C.
Yeah.
I'm in there having a good time, not thinking about nothing, but just having fun with my girls. It's time to go. And this person, somebody I knew was a photographer, reaches out and was like, excuse me. And I was like, yes. And he was like, are you a model? And I was like, no, I'm not a model. In my mind, I'm thinking this guy's trying to hit on me, right?
Pick up line. I'm not falling for this.
I'm like, but that's cute. But no, I'm tired. My feet hurt. I got on heels. I'm ready to go. And this guy was like so persistent. He was like, no, I'm serious. He gave me his business card and everything. He was like, no, I'm serious. Like, are you a model? Because I'm a photographer. And I was like, you think I'm a model? I was like, seriously? Well, I appreciate the compliment, but no, I'm not. And then he was like, well, you have a unique look. Would you be interested in doing some what they call TFPs, which that term stands for time for prints. So it's when a photographer takes pictures of a model for free, and in exchange, the model will get access to those prints, the edited versions, of course, for free. So it's like a free exchange of service.
Right.
And at the time, I really wasn't. My girls were with me. I'm over here thinking like, sounds like a fun idea, but like this is again probably just a hit up, like a pickup line or whatever. So again, I'm not taking it seriously. But the guy was very persistent. He was like, just like take the car, do the research. My information is here. If you're interested, just give me a call. I'm on my way to the car. My girlfriends are encouraging me to do it. I did a little bit of research and it seemed pretty legit, right? So I was like, you know what damn, like, what would it be hurtful of me, like a bad thing for me just to try it out? Right. And I didn't go by myself, nor do I do for like any gigs that I don't know anything about. Like, obviously I wouldn't do that.
Very smart.
So I did it. I brought one of my homeboys with me and I was nervous. And because I'd never been really in front of a camera. It was intimidating. Yeah. It can be very intimidating because it's not just you and the photographer, but there's other people in the room too looking at you. And that, if you're not comfortable with that, it can be very, stressful in a sense, right?
I get it.
So my first photo shoot, that was with this photographer. We did our shoot, we did a couple of outfits, a couple of looks. He showed me the pictures. He edited them, and I was like, whoa.
Is that me?
I was like, is that me? Like, really? And after that, the photographer was like, you know what, Shekira, like, you should consider, like, exploring this a little bit because you seem pretty good at it. I mean, you, in terms of at least the first photo shoot up experience, you seem pretty good, and you definitely have capabilities of achieving, like, higher levels of success. Just think about it. So, I went home, looked at the pictures. Last time I remember contacting you and sharing the pictures with you, and I was like, well, what would it hurt just to kind of give it a try, you know? And I didn't think that it was really going to turn into anything, really. I remember I started, like, doing more shoots, getting more recognitions, more opportunities, not just with photographers, but with brands, with fashion shoots and runway experiences, and opportunities to, like, go on, like, these casting calls. And I was just like, whoa, this is, like, picking up without me really having to put forth the effort.
Without you really having to put forth the effort in it. And that was one of the things, like, when we talked about it, it seemed like it happened so fast.
I know.
Like like you went from like, I'm booked. And I'm like, I got to shoot this week. I'm like, she has shoots every single weekend. It was like the photographers were reaching out to you.
Yeah, I wasn't reaching out. Yeah. That was the thing. I wasn't proactively looking for opportunities. They were just coming.
How were they coming? Like, were they coming from the one photographer, or was it because of you started posting on social media?
A combination of both.
Okay.
So at first, again, I didn't really know how the model industry worked. So I wanted to be mindful because, again, what I saw in terms of modeling at the time and still do, and we can get into this probably as we get more in the discussion, but a lot of these models don't have an image that they're maintaining. They're just shooting to shooting, whether it's fashion, editorial, boudoir, whatever they can have an opportunity to shoot, they'll shoot. Clothes off, clothes on, whatever, they'll shoot, right? So for me, I wanted to make sure that I had a fine line in terms of what I'm willing to do and what I will tolerate and what I don't, because I have a brand to represent, especially since I still have a job with the State Department. I have to make sure that
you have to keep the integrity.
Exactly. So with that being said, the opportunities were coming from that first photographer that wanted to shoot me. Opportunities were coming from photographers who saw my work on social media. Opportunities were coming from the studio that I used to do my photo shoots. Opportunities were coming from friends of photographers who shot me. So it was like word of mouth type of thing.
Right.
And then I got to a point where I was like, well, you know what? What can I do to kind of make this a little bit more professional? Because I don't want most of my opportunities or bookings to come through social media. I developed, and I started to meet models, of course. Yeah. And meeting models, you understand the game a little bit more. You understand what to do and what not to do, how to brand yourself, you know, things of that sort. I even learned a little bit about like cameras and photography, right? But I realized that I needed to develop like an email address and allow all of my bookings to go through that to make it a little bit more professional, right? And to be able to also have record of all of these interactions. So it wasn't until I started doing things like that on a more professional level that the clientele that I was bringing in was at another level.
Okay, so let's pause it. Let's pause it there. This is a great point.
Okay.
To make that if you want other people to take you serious, you have to show them
almost definitely
that you are taking yourself and your stuff serious. Like when doing this podcast, I'm not just doing this podcast. This is an experience, you know what I mean? I like the lights, the cameras, the microphones. Like I got the website up and stuff like that. I've got the merch up and stuff like that. Like I want people that when they go on to backpackjeff.com, you want people when they go and find you and look at you want it to see professional, it's smooth, it's whatever it is that you're looking for, you can find it. And I think that when people have something that they are pursuing, you want to make sure that you are investing in making sure that whatever you have is as professional as possible, so that people know that you are serious about what it is that you're doing. And when people know that you're serious, they will take you serious.
Hands down, that's right. Period.
So you've been featured in a couple of magazines as well.
Yes.
How long were you doing this before you started to get into like the different magazines and stuff like that?
So my first publication was probably give or take 7 months after I started modeling.
Wow.
And it was an opportunity that came out of the whim, right? Because of course, when I was starting to model, I just wanted to do it for fun. I wasn't thinking about publication. I wasn't thinking about runway. I wasn't thinking about getting paid for what I'm doing. I was like, you want to shoot up? I'm down. I just want some cute pictures, whatever.
You like to dress up, like to put on some clothes and stuff like that.
If you want me to be like if you want me to model a brand or whatever, so be it. I'll do it. But when these magazines were reaching out, because they saw my work, they were reaching out. And they would be like, hey, we see your work. We want, like, do you have other, photos that you can feature in our magazine? Like, we want to be able to add this into our magazine.
Wow.
So having conversations with photographers and now shooting to fit what is expected for the magazines, because you got to shoot for your audience, right? That it's not just shooting to shoot. It's a whole level of organization that comes with each and every shoot.
Right.
By no means don't get that
twisted. Come on now.
It takes some time to get through every shoot.
Drop them golden nuggets.
But no, I mean, like, so when that first magazine reached out and was like, we want to be able to feature you, give us some material. That's when we started planning, and I was like, okay. But there was no guarantee, of course, they will accept it,
right? Because
it needed to be able to fit the qualifications that meet that magazine. But when we shot for the magazine and bam, it was featured, I was like, wait, hold up. so am I a published model? Like, did that just happen?
In 7 months?
And
yes.
Right. And so once that first publication happened, that's when I felt like people started to recognize me a little bit more. Right. And so other photographers, and the photographers that were reaching out were the ones who were already at the time published, meaning that they had opportunities to get published with other magazines.
Right.
So they would reach out to me and they would shoot me or want to work with me. And then by next minute, I'm getting published again. Mm-hmm. And I think that happened like several times until I started.
Snowball effect.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And then of course when I did runway, my shoots from the runway experience were published as well.
Mm-hmm. How was that? Like did you have to like get the walk down and stuff like that?
Oh,
or like
man, Jeff. Was it? So okay, let me shed some light in terms of this experience. So right. I did right before COVID. I did DC Fashion Week. Right.
I saw that. I was going to ask you about that.
Okay. Well, I won't.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I did this. Now this was. Have you seen? This was kind of like a very amateur version of
Project Runway?
Yes. You had these a-hole judges, who think they're all that in a bag of chips. You got these models over here who claim that they've been doing this for years. Very like definitely not like cool, calm, and collected. Like they're just kind of like all in their zone. Oh, I'm that girl, I'm all it. Like legit, it was just like
you can't talk to me, you can't touch me.
Exactly, and that
very arrogant.
No, exactly. So when I went to the casting of it, that whole time I was nervous because I realized at that moment I'm not like these models.
Yeah.
Personality wise, number one, I'm not like
at
that.
All.
Right. Number two, I don't have that type of experience. And number three, I don't know how to model walk like this, at least not at that time, right? So I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to just do my best. And if it's meant to be, of course, it's going to happen. And of course, at the time, I was like, I can do this. I'm just trying to, boost myself up. And at the same time, I'm not saying all the models were like that, but the majority were. But the models that weren't, of course, we got really cool. In fact, a lot of my recent photo shoots that I've done are with models that I met at DC Fashion Week. Yeah. Jessica J. Brisk, she's one of them. And you've probably seen a couple of them on her page.
Yep, I've seen it.
She was the first model I met at DC Fashion Week until they were like tight. And that experience, I really like being able to meet people and to go through that level of intimidation, in a sense, is like healthy only because you know what to expect in this industry, right? So I'm going to just let you know that I remember the first... So they were cutthroat, right? Because I remember the judges were pretty much saying, this is how we want you to walk. If you decide to do your own thing on this runway after we told you for the first time how to walk, you're automatically cut. And you best believe that when you walk, you better walk with an attitude. Like they want you to really like own that runway. Mm-hmm. So you already got to go in there already like, you know what? You have to have a very diva-ish mentality to be able to kind of be able to meet their standards. And that wasn't me. Like, I'm very cool. I'm very humble. Like, I was like, okay, Shekira, you got to get
very
character.
Outgoing. You're very charismatic.
Yeah, but I'm
very
not about
loving.
to be here like, all right, I'm gonna own this show. No, I'm not gonna go. That I had to like develop that. I had to put into character, whatever, which I learned. But I did my best. I did practice, of course, before going, right?
Of course.
So I did what I could. I was like, Shekira, you're going to act like Tyra Banks, and you're just going to move. Mm-hmm. I'm like, move
them shoulders. That's it, right?
Move them shoulders, move them hips, and just walk. And you can't, and it's, when you model, one thing that they notice that they always tell you is that they don't want you to smile. Mm-hmm. It's always a serious look when you model. So walking and then being able to, do what they want me to do. I was like, okay, Shekira, I finally did the walk. Obviously, all eyes are on you, right? So that's intimidating within itself, right? But after I did my walk, normally they had a tendency of when they walk and when you get off, if they didn't want you to say cut. Wow. So at that moment when I was walking off stage, I was like, Shekira, this is the moment right here. Right? Are they going to tell me cut? What's going to happen right now?
Yeah, keep that serious face and go ahead and walk back to the dressing room and leave.
Shekira. But they didn't say nothing, right? So I was like, okay, well, maybe I didn't do so bad, right? I was like, okay. And I noticed when I went back to my seat, I looked at the judges and they were smiling. Jeff, I was like, Cher, go ahead, because you did something
You
right for
definitely
them
did.
to be smiling.
Hey, that right there, that feeling of like confirmation, that feeling of like, okay,
Man,
I
that
did
boosted
my
my
thing.
level of confidence. I was like, Shakira, you are that girl up
Come
in
on
here.
now,
I was
off the
like,
first time.
woo. No, I'm telling. I mean, like just that smile is all I needed
Yeah.
to know. Like Shakira, you got this. Of course, I wasn't the most experienced
Mm-hmm.
model, but it let me know that I have potential,
Yeah.
and that's all I needed to know.
Absolutely. Just like the girls who you went to the school and spoke with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You let them know that they have potential, that something is possible, and now you know now because of this experience that you have potential.
Yeah.
And that's it's interesting how that thing is just like full circle. That's amazing. Like I literally watched you, like like in the beginning you were like, no, I don't want to do this. No, I'm just gonna do it for fun. And I'm like, like how fast it happened. I just admire that. And then the level of confidence that I see now in your pictures
Oh.
versus when you first started versus like the first shoot, I'm just like, yo, this is a totally different woman from when we first met. And like how does that feel? Like, do you feel more confident? Do you feel like when you go to these photo shoots, like you own it now?
Yeah, I do. I do. I feel, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I really love what I'm doing now. At
Uh-huh.
first, it was kind of like a fun kind of side hobby or whatever, just to
Right.
do to pass time.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like a level of passion that I just developed because not only do I feel like I'm improving in my art of modeling, but because I'm like actually getting recognized for the work that I'm doing. The quality that I'm putting out
Mm-hmm.
is improving. And that is already a confidence booster.
Yeah.
So when I go to these shoots, and not to mention the photographers that I'm working with now, I know them. We've developed a relationship over time
Right.
that allows me to feel comfortable with working with them.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps with the fact that a lot more people know me because of what I do. So that's already like, Shakira, like you know you're gonna put out good work.
Right.
Just have that mentality when you're doing your shoots and you're good. And you
Yeah.
learn little tricks, of course, with every shoot. How to look at the camera, what type of facial expressions, what type of poses, and you improve on it just with anything. You always improve
Sure.
with practice. So the more shoots I did, the more I improved, the more I was able to kind of like really hone in on my craft and realize that, it's getting better.
That's amazing. So when you're doing these shoots, are you posing yourself or is the photographer telling you how they want you to pose or I'm looking for this?
So that's a good question. It's a combination of both.
Okay.
But really, it's the job. So in the industry, it's a job of the model to come prepared, knowing the poses.
Okay.
And you know the poses because before a shoot, you are aware of what the concept is, meaning the theme of the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are booked for a gig, they book you because they see not only you of being able to achieve the look of this concept,
Mm-hmm.
but because you have the ability to pose in a way that will allow them to capture the images that they want
Right.
without a photographer really having to kind of guide you.
Yeah.
Because it's a photographer's job to capture the angles.
Right,
It's
and
the
focus
model. Right. It's the model's job to do the pose. Now, don't get me wrong, because there's certain times where you would pose, but you don't realize that you're posing in the right direction, or maybe it's not as like there's certain poses that you're doing, and maybe the photographer wants you to kind of expand on.
Right.
Which it still is the case for me,
Yeah.
and that's perfectly fine because it's a collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a job primarily of the model to be able to understand like the poses and stuff.
That's amazing. Hey, look, listen, I'm learning because I'm gonna get there one day. One day because I'm the swag Godzilla. So
Hey.
you know what I mean. They gonna see these outfits and be like, yo, man, this dude is just always. We're gonna get there one day.
That's right.
We're gonna get there, and I'm gonna be walking that model stage with my
Yes.
shoulders back. I'm gonna be doing it with my shoulders back. I promise you. Wow. So what's next? Like, what do you want? What's happening next for Shakira in terms of modeling first?
That still is that's a good question because I really don't know what the future holds.
Mm-hmm.
What I have in store for myself in terms of what I want to accomplish.
Okay.
Would definitely be mentoring. I want to be able to now, of course, continue honing on my craft of modeling, but now being able to help younger models enter the industry.
What's interesting is that that was another thing that I called on you to do as well. There was a young lady I think she was like 17 or 18, and her mom reached out to me. And she was like, she wants to be a model, and she feels like she has to move out to California. I'm like, you're not even a big enough model here yet. How you moving out to California to think you're going to be a model? Like, do it here first. Yeah. And she never. I don't think she ever reached out to you or anything like that. She was one of those girls who was like, no, I got it. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it. And I'm like, not like you. Listen. It doesn't take much to be an Instagram model, you know what I mean, to post some pictures of you in a bathing suit or something like that. You'll get some likes because you have a nice body. But if you really want to do this is a person who you should, and this is right on the verge when you first started, yeah, I was like, yo, like you can learn so much from her. And like, have you done a DC Fashion Week? No, I haven't done that. Have you done any of this? No, I haven't done. She only likes to do swimsuit pictures. So she thinks she got to go out to California and do, and I'm like, there's so much more than just these swimsuit pics and just pictures of you with your butt out and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I haven't seen one picture of you in that light, but you're still a published model several times over. You still done DC Fashion Week. You're able to keep your level of integrity while also doing something that you're passionate about. So that's a beautiful thing. Tell me so I want to figure out how I want to ask this. Where does your sense of fashion come from? And the outfits that you're wearing, are these your outfits? Because
good question.
Like I can imagine what your closet looks like. You know what I'm saying? You got some style. I see how I see how you rolled up in here today. So like are they your clothes? I know when you're modeling for a particular brand or something like that, you're gonna wear their clothes. But like I haven't seen that much of that from you. Are you modeling your clothes? And like, where does your sense of fashion come from?
So the first question in terms of modeling my clothes, it's a combination of yes and no, but primarily no. So I say that because most of the gigs that I have are paid gigs, and the photographers are the ones who would supply the clothes for me to wear with input from me in terms of what concept I want to do. Okay. So with that being said, they would buy the clothes, like whatever they want me to wear for the shoot. But in terms of like style, like they consider me kind of like how do we call it? It's kind of like their like styling assistant. Okay. So like they'll purchase the clothes and we'll communicate in terms of a concept. But for the shoot itself, it's like how we're going to work it in terms of how we're going to style it. They'll have me kind of hone in on it. So, but the beauty of it though is that they let me keep the clothes at the end. At least the majority of them do. Really? So a lot of the clothes that you see on my shoot, like on my like things that I shoot, are clothes that were either bought or my clothes, but whatever was bought, I get to keep. And that's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And in terms of my style, actually, I'm curious. I won't answer, of course. Okay. But I'm quite curious to know who you think is my fashion inspiration. I'm curious. There's one because I have many, and I'll share. But there's one in particular that I'm starting to really favor.
You got to give me a clue or something. Was she in a movie? She's a fashion icon.
She's a international icon of the arts. She does dancing. She does singing. She does movies.
Oh, dancing, singing, movies. Okay, you narrowed it down.
Okay, I gotta break it down some more. She was at the inauguration.
Oh, come on. No, wait, hold on.
She sang at the inauguration.
Sang at the inauguration. Yep.
She sang at Super Bowl.
I'm lost. What y'all got? Y'all got anything?
J-Lo.
Dang, J-Lo. I was lost.
Couldn't be Lady
No, Bird, right?
Who y'all got? J-Lo.
No, it's J-Lo. Really, surprisingly, it's her whole fashion with the boots, the glasses, the blonde hair, the fitted outfits, the blazers, showing a little bit of chest, the fitted like that. Her style is really the style that I'm starting to really hone into, and I love. Like she's one of my fashion icons, like someone I really aspire to be in terms of like how she carries herself, how she looks, that image. It's just something that I really like. And I mean, she's a wonderful woman.
She is.
And so I look at her, I'm like, with this style, it's a combination, which is how I want to be perceived. It's a combination of class elegance, fashion, sophistication, and sexiness.
Come on now. We got to put those letters up there when she said those letters.
But
we
no,
gotta...
seriously, fashion, class, elegance, sophistication, and sexiness. A grown woman. Like, that's exactly.
Stamp. Big facts.
That's exactly.
Period.
Yeah. No, but that's exactly, when you look at my pictures, I want you to be like, oh, she has class. Oh, she has fashion.
Yeah.
Oh, she's sexy. Oh, but she does it in a way that isn't revealing too
right
much,
yeah
you know,
that's beautiful. Okay, I would say J-Lo is a good person to kind of want to model yourself after, for sure.
Yeah, but she
J-Lo,
isn't the
I
only
apologize
one.
for not getting that right. She isn't the only one. Who else?
So I also of course, Shekira. I love the way that she's very free spirited. She has a very casual, in terms of her personality, she's very down to earth. Okay. And I love how she carries herself in like the spotlight. That to me is who I idolize as well, in terms of like even the way that she dresses, like jeans and crop tops. I love that.
Yeah.
But also in terms of a professional look, I mean, I can't. Michelle Obama, most definitely.
Come on now, man. Listen, that lady right there.
Michelle Obama, yes.
Get you a Michelle.
Yes. Yes. Also Taraji B Henson.
I love her too. And she had a birthday recently, didn't she?
She did.
Yeah. I saw she was getting a lot of stuff from some people kind of sent to her, and I was like, yo, she's been great for a long time.
She has been.
Yeah.
She has been. And one more, Tracee Ellis Ross.
Tracee Ellis Ross. Listen,
yeah.
That lady right there. Listen, I'm not gonna lie.
We
may have to edit this part out, y'all. I was looking at Blackish the other day, and she had on this this tiger, this leopard print like workout jumpsuit. And when she walked away, I just had to pause the TV. I was like, yo, what is happening back there?
Look.
She oh my God, man. Whew, she is tearing it. She's very beautiful. She is all of those things that you named. I love her personality. I love who she is. She's so funny. And Blackish is one of my favorite TV shows. And I like the energy that you get from. I love everybody in Blackish, even the little girl in Blackish, Diane. I can't start her name.
With the glasses?
Yeah, her name starts with an M. She is so funny. She's so funny. She's so beautiful, and like. That I'm like, yo, I want my daughters to look up to her. If you follow anybody on TikTok, on Instagram, you need to follow her. Yeah. You need to follow oh my goodness. I love that little girl. Like, she was one of my own. But I love Tracee Ellis. Like, you have some really amazing, powerful women that you're looking up to. And I definitely think that, you're going to get to the point where you are exactly where they are in terms of an amazing and powerful woman, and you have people who are, women who are sitting on couches and on podcasts and talking and saying, I want to be just like Shekira, because of all of the things that she is, all of the things that you named in other people. I think you have those qualities. I would, in the book that I read, 21 Laws of Leadership, that was one of the things that he did, that he put in the book. He was like, write down the qualities that you want your people to have, like the people who follow you to have. And so I wrote down these qualities. And now he said, ask yourself, do you have these qualities? And if you don't have those qualities, then you won't ever find people who have those same qualities, because you won't even know how to recognize them. Yeah, and I think you are in a position of powerful people recognize potential in people, and people of potential know power when they see it. You're powerful to a group of young women for sure, but then you also recognize the power when you see it, and not just with the title of this podcast, it's in my bag. Like, and a lot of people, when they say in my bag, like they're getting money and stuff like that. Right. It's not just that for you. You're in your bag in a multitude of different areas. So I commend you on that, and that's an amazing thing. So we are at the point of the podcast where we like to go in our bag. So I got a special backpack here, a special Black History Month edition backpack. Yes. So one of the things that I like to do, I just kind of like to pose some questions from these 2 card games that I have. One of my favorites is called Less Small Talk, More Genuine Conversation. And so in this, you basically take a look at what last year looked like, and then you also look at in the future what next year is going to look like for you. So We're just
Okay.
going to play a little game. I'm going to put down 6 cards here, and the only thing I want you to do is just to tell me a number 1 through 6. I'm going to pick it up, and then we will just have you answer the question.
Okay, 1 through 6.
1 through 6.
I'm gonna choose 3.
Okay. The past year in retrospect, what are you most grateful for?
Despite a lot of the trials and tribulations that me and really the community has experienced, really the world has experienced because of COVID, for me personally, it has been such an amazing year in terms of achievements.
Okay.
I told you I bought my house.
Mm-hmm.
I got my promotion with my job.
Congratulations.
I finished paying off my car.
Come on now.
My modeling, despite the pandemic, still prospered.
Wow.
My ability to finish certain things with my job in terms of certifications, I managed to accomplish.
Wow.
All of these achievements I managed to do despite the pandemic, and it's like, wow.
That's
so for
beautiful.
me, yeah, of course there were setbacks, but I accomplished a lot.
Wow, that's an amazing 2020. And I know you're looking forward to way more in 2021. All right, so pick another number, one or 2 or 3. I'm sorry, or 4 through 6.
I'm gonna do 5.
I'm gonna do 5. All right. So this one is the blank one. So let me.
Okay.
And they let you write one on there for yourself. So here we go. In the past year, who do you admire the most?
My mom.
Okay.
And I say that simply because in my family, we experienced, there's been a lot of like, personally, a lot of like family challenges that had encouraged my mom to really have to step up to the plate. And I think one of the most challenging things for her really was me leaving the nest because I was really the last child to leave the nest. And
Right.
it was emotionally difficult for my mom. On top of having to deal with other family things.
Right.
And to see the level of strength that she was able to overcome and to be able to like have for herself and to still be able to do the things that she needed to do when it came to work, maintaining the family, being a support unit for my grandmother. I mean, it just, the amount that she's able to endure, I just look at her and I'm like, wow. Like, that to me is just amazing because I personally think I can do it. And I looked up to my mom so much, especially when it came to, like, when COVID hit and when I purchased my home, she was the one who encouraged me to be like, Shekira, I know that there's rumors about this COVID and that you won't be able to move in so soon. But if there's a will, there's a way. And you trust and believe that with patience, you're going to get it done. She was like that encouraging factor for me. So I really have to give it all to my mom.
That's beautiful. I hope your mom listens to this, and I hope she feels special when she hears the kind words that you just said. Okay, pick another one. 1, 2, 4, or 6.
6.
I'm going to go with 6. Which moment would you most like to relive? That's a good one.
Ooh. Any moment in life?
In 2020.
Okay. Well, okay. That's not a bad one. So, relive would be honestly the biggest thing for me that I am always gonna remember for 2020 besides the pandemic will be buying my house. So reliving would be me signing that big stack of papers before I got my keys, because it was a combination of emotions, like emotions of like me crying because I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to do this, but also crying, like, so tears of like me being afraid, but also tears of joy, because it's nothing like getting keys in your hand of an item that you just invested in that's now yours.
Yeah.
That level, like that possession,
sense of ownership and pride
and satisfaction.
Yeah.
That moment, I think I'm going to always remember, because I felt so proud.
That's amazing. I can't wait to experience that. I can't wait to feel that.
I can't wait for you.
I know. Oh man, I know I'm gonna go crazy when I have that.
You're gonna go crazy. You can be like,
All right, let's do another one. 1 through 6.
1.
Number 1. With the knowledge you have now, what would you have done differently in the last year? Is there anything that you would have done differently?
I probably would have did a better job. So like I said last year, I spent a lot of time focusing on myself, which is never a negative thing, negative a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could do it over, it would probably be me being a little bit more proactive with reaching out to other people, because I didn't do a lot of that during COVID. Of course, I checked on people to see how they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I probably would have done it a little bit more with an expanded level of network of people instead of really keeping it within just like my family and close friends unit.
Okay. Do one more in this section. 2 through 6.
4.
What was one of the most beautiful places you visited? You probably didn't visit anywhere in 2020, huh?
Not in 2020. But before the pandemic would be Baku.
Oh, say that again.
Baku, Azerbaijan. Baku is the capital. Baku, Azerbaijan.
You said the second word like that was easier to say than the first
Oh.
one. Listen, one thing that I'm horrible with is geography. I would have failed geography several times over again if it was something that I had to take. Trust and believe. All right, so now we're looking ahead to 2021.
Okay.
Some of the amazing things that you're going to do this year. Let's find out exactly what that's going to look like. Pick a number 1 through 6.
2.
Number 2. What habits will you take with you into the next year? So what habits will you take into 2021 that you had in 2020?
Dedication,
Mm-hmm.
commitment, and confidence.
Okay. I like that.
My ability to never give up despite challenges and setbacks. Because with every setback, there's a setup for a comeback.
Come on now. Come on, somebody. All right. Number 1 or 3 through 6?
5.
Number 5. What will be on the pictures you take in the upcoming year?
Happiness. A level of self-gratification.
Okay.
And inspiration.
Okay.
To help others, in this case, young ladies, feel inspired to achieve their goals despite whatever challenges they may be going through.
Okay. I love it. Okay. 1, 3, 4, or 6?
6.
6. All right. To what are you most looking forward in 2020?
Traveling. I want to get back out there, back out overseas. I want to be able to really not just, of course, for work, but personally, because for me, I get so much enlightenment and a sense of fulfillment by being able to embrace other cultures, the food, the cuisine, the style, the ambiance, the environment. That gives me a sense of self-fulfillment that I feel like I wasn't able to really have this year. I mean, for obvious reasons, but I need to re-energize.
I remember you telling me you recently took your first trip back home.
I did, to Guyana.
How was that? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Man, that was such a beautiful moment for me, being able to just relive the environment that my father grew up in, to see how he lived. I mean, it's not the most ritzy country of them all, but that's okay, because with every country there's a sense of beauty.
Yeah.
You know, and to be able to really indulge into the culture, meet with family who I'm only seeing on WhatsApp or FaceTime, like be able to really see them and talk with them, and to hear the stories about my father growing up and how my grandmother used to have so many responsibilities of not just being a house mom, but having to sell food outside that she cooked to be able to raise money to feed the family or to make clothes for the family, so my dad won't have to walk to school with, just like, it's just those stories of kind of like how my dad grew up, for me, made me feel like, wow. It made me feel proud to be an American, but also proud because of what I'm able to accomplish now as in the United States, but also proud to be Guyanese. Because it's like I'm a part of my dad's culture. I'm able to share my dad's culture with the work that I do at the State Department. Yeah. Because while I was there, personally, I also worked at the embassy.
I remember you told me that.
And that was an experience for me that was extremely emotional. And you know why?
Why?
Because just picture it. Growing up, my dad, age 12, went to the embassy, him and his siblings and my grandfather and my grandmother, trying to just get a visa to come to the United States on a green card, just temporarily. Worked their butts off to get here, finally become American citizens. My father has me, an American citizen, a Guyanese, of Guyanese blood, of course. I work for the State Department, and his daughter is not going back home, and she's not going back home to get a visa to be an American citizen.
Right.
She's an American citizen now, helping Guyanese people in Guyana come to America. It just came full circle.
That's poetry right there. That's poetry.
It was a
right
beautiful
there.
moment. It was beautiful.
Absolutely. I absolutely think that's a beautiful moment. Wow. Wow, I'm just amazed by that. Let's do one more. 1, 3, or 4.
1.
Numero uno. With what will you be congratulating yourself on a year from now? At the end of 2021, what will you be congratulating yourself on?
I'm gonna say there's some things that I'm looking into doing professionally with the State Department that I'm hoping will align with my goals for modeling, and I'm hoping to accomplish a level of success that will allow me to strengthen both of my passions in a way that will be accepting to both communities. So in other words, be able to model, but maybe do something that will allow me to promote my modeling thing through the State Department. So by doing public diplomacy ads and outreach ads as the face of the State Department as a model, to be able to model but to also represent the State Department. Why? By being the face of as a diplomat, but also not just being a face of a diplomat, but being a face of an immigrant's daughter. So being able to really just have that story, because that's what I look at when I with State Department and with modeling. I'm telling a story. I'm a face of a community. I want people to see me and be like, she's a model. She's not your typical blonde, blue, white girl.
Right.
You know, she has a level of uniqueness that a lot of women also have. And they can look at me and be like, she's a model. She works at the State Department. She's successful at both. I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's my passion from doing what I'm doing, to be able to motivate young ladies who have that passion, who don't really know whether they have the ability to do it, but see that I do it and be like, you know what, this is actually, I'm capable of doing this. This can be achieved.
And you know, I think you are doing it now. I think you will continue to do it. I was having a conversation earlier today and even yesterday with my boy Lou, and that was one of the things that I said. You know, it's weird to feel like I am someone that my peers look up to, you know, and so I think that you are definitely shifting more in a direction of leadership, of inspiration, of influencer, of someone who a lot more people are going to come to and ask more questions because of the success that you've had at such a young age. It's something that you don't see too often. And, you know, I think that for sure, women are winning in this world. Black women are winning in this world for sure. Like one of the things that, you know, I talk to like my guys about all the time is if I told you, and I want y'all to think about this too. If I said, name as many women as you can between the age of 25 and 35 who own a home, I can probably name you about 10 straight off the bat. But if I said name guys between the ages of 25 and 35 who own homes, it would be more difficult for me to name guys. And and I don't know what that reason is. I'm interested in finding out what that reason is. But to see strong women who are doing amazing things, it's just a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? It reminds me, when I see women like yourself who are strong, it reminds me of my mother in so many ways, just because of how strong she was. Yeah. And so I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I know people are going to take something from this, and not in just modeling, but also in professional. I mean, you've given us so much to think about, and we appreciate you for that. Tell the people how they can follow you on Instagram, and how they can, see some of the modeling that you have done and that you're going to continue to do.
Of course. So, my modeling, Instagram profile is Shekira, which is my full name, 21. So Shekira 21. You could also follow me on Facebook, Shekira. Just type in my name, Shekira, and my last name, Ramdass, Ramdass.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to share with the people, or you want to say any final words before we get out of here?
Just be yourself. Don't let this community, don't let society try to brand you, trying to influence you, or to pressure you to do something that you don't want to do. Everyone is capable of achieving something unique because we all have a unique purpose. Even if it's something that isn't encouraged by the most, just know that there's always a way to achieve it, and that if you continue to keep your mind set to it, you will accomplish it.
And with that being said, this has been another episode of In My Bag with Backpack Jeff. Until next time.